Good evening and welcome to NAGP TV. My name is John Houston and I'll be your broadcast host this evening. With me tonight is my partner Brad Maris. Good evening, Brad. Welcome to the broadcast.
Yeah, hi there, John. Good to be here.
So looking forward to racing at Hockenheim this evening. We've got the North American Grand Prix GT1 series heads back to the track this evening to contest round 4 of the championship from the legendary Hockenheim circuit in Germany. Last week in Melbourne, it was the Brad Maris show, who was substituting for an absent Sam Rolfe in the McLaren F1. Brad dominated all sessions to take the win and, more importantly, propel Rolfe Sport Racing to the top spot in the team championship. Maris set the tone early in qualifying, setting a lap record in the final minutes of the session with a time of 1:45.597, nearly 3/10 up on second place Aaron Parsons in the Sailor. Maris' teammate for the evening, John Sportelli, took the third spot on the grid in qualifying, a half second off of the pole sitter. Maris continued his stellar performance in the race, unchallenged throughout the event, leading all of the 47 laps to claim the victory. In addition to the win, Brad went on to claim the fastest lap of the race with a 1:47.451. Maris' great night overshadowed the performance of his teammate John Sportelli, who himself drove a masterful race. Sportelli brought his McLaren home in second, 20 seconds behind Maris, to make it a Rolfe Sport Racing 1-2 finish. David Poole, who finished third, was later demoted to 8th after the cut review, handing third place to Aaron Parsons in the sailing. As we head into round 4 this evening at Hockenheim, Andres Preto is leading the championship with 55 points, just 2 points ahead of second place John Sportelli. Chris Moses, Alex White, and Rich Hromin complete your top 5 in the standings, all within 15 points of the leader. With the 1-2 finish by Rolfe Sport Racing, the squad has taken over the lead in the team championship with 79 points. Sorcy Verdes, Andres Preto, and Marco Conti are second with 71 points. Precision Motor Racing, 05 Motorsport, and HSC Racing make up the rest of your top 5 and are within striking distance of the leaders. After 3 rounds, our competition index leaders are John Sportelli, Chris Moses, and Rich Hromin. Each have completed 203 laps in a distance of 1,092 kilometers traveled. The competition index prize is awarded to the driver who covers the most distance in a single season. So we're looking forward to a great race this evening. What's your thoughts about the race tonight, Brad?
I think it's going to be a good one. After a couple of exciting events here the last couple of weeks, I don't think that we're going to experience anything different here tonight. This track tends to generate a lot of close action. There may be a couple fast guys that separate themselves out toward the front, but a real hallmark of this track is close battles there toward the middle of the pack, and so and that shouldn't go away over the course of the entire race. These guys should be battling pretty close all night. A few things they have to watch out for on this track. There are a couple places where you can receive cut track warnings, and of course you get 3 of those, you're going to be taking a drive-through penalty, so they'll have to watch out for that. But otherwise, should be a good, exciting event. I think we have slipped into qualifying here, John.
Yes, indeed. We're just getting started, so we'll just jump on board with Rich Hromin as he's on his out lap.
Now, it should be mentioned as well, normal co-announcer tonight, Ken Rodriguez, is not around, so not sure exactly why that is, but in any event, you guys will have to suffer along with me, but expect Ken and Jack Ivey, also your regular broadcaster, to be back next week. So
yeah,
fans of that duo, don't despair. They'll be back soon.
Certainly do appreciate you stepping in with us here. Keep me from talking incessantly for an hour and a half. So we have got some success ballast to report from last week's race winner. Andre Preto now is carrying 40 kilograms. John Sportelli has 30 kilograms. David Raleigh has 30 kilos. And Aaron Parsons is carrying 20 kilos of success ballast as well too, because he was promoted to the 3rd place. We did have some penalties that were handed out last week's race. Chuck Carter is back with the qualified cars due to contact with Gup Douglas on the first lap. Submitted time steps, we've got Chris Moses versus Juan Monroy. Juan Monroy received a 10 kilo penalty ballast for collecting Moses in turn 3. Ryan Schleif has 20 kilos for knocking Gup Douglas off the track. And that was in turn 15. Matt Taylor has received a 20 kilo penalty ballast as well too for contacting John McIntyre, causing him to lose 1 position with time and damage sustained. And we also have 2 drivers that had no quals, but unfortunately did take it out on the track, so they received each a 10 kilo penalty ballast. That was John Wathen and Salem Montgomery Jr. Let's see, what else do we have here? We had just some other housekeeping, that nothing substantial to talk about there. So we'll just get rid of that. And let's see, how are we doing with our timing? I don't have it on my web page. So Chris Moses is the early pole, provisional pole sitter, 133.37, with John Sportelli at 133.45. So the times are pretty tight already, Brad.
Yeah, indeed. Chris Moses, has actually turned in a pretty good lap. I think we can expect to see some low 33s. I saw Rich Hromin there actually in practice during the week turn a 34.1. So we can expect the track length is about 1.5 minutes in total length. You can expect qualifying times to be about 1 second faster than those full fuel times. So I think there's a little bit of room left for these guys, but we'll see. The track temperature is up to 107 degrees, and that could be warming up the tires for these guys a little bit.
That's a little toasty. That will challenge them a little bit. Looking at some of the track times from, real life, the track record is from a Formula One car, surprising, as well. The North American GP Racing League track pole time is 1:33.089, set by Andres Preto. And that was just the last race that we had run about 1.5 years ago. There's been 4 different times that we've run the race, and we've got 4 different winners. Or pardon me, no, we don't have 4 different winners. Chris Moses won the first 2. He won the inaugural, and then he won the next race. The 3rd race, run in season 11, winner was Rich Hromin. And as I said, Andres Preto is the defending race winner, as well as the pole defending lap record holder. The maximum laps for the race will be 55 laps. Shouldn't be too much of a problem meeting that, as long as we've got good weather. This track is a total of 17 turns, which has a mixture of tight, twisty sections and fast sweeping corners, designed to test the balance of the race cars and the patience of the drivers.
Yep, that's right, John. Now I'm taking a look through timing and scoring here. Another guy that I was a little surprised with, John Sportelli, in the week of practice with 30 kilograms of success ballast after that great run at Melbourne. He has been turning some very fine times over the course of the week, running in the 34.5s, which is pretty good for those 30 kilos, I would say. And John Sportelli looking pretty sharp here in qualifying as well with that 33.4. So John Sportelli looking to maintain his nice points advantage there. Currently second, as you say, John, in driver points.
Yeah, he briefly held the lead at the conclusion of last week's race, but of course with the demotion of David Poole because of the cut review, those points got readjusted, and Andres Prieto has retaken the lead. But it is very, very close. And the times here, we're looking at the top 8 are within 0.6 of a second. And look at that. John Sportelli just jumps to the top of the chart with a 1:33.2. So speaking directly about his fast times right there. Last week Ken was commenting about John, picking up his game, so to speak, and continues to do that here.
Yeah, he has. I tell you, a guy that I've been kind of waiting for to pop up on timing and scoring here is Rich Hromin, and the fact of the matter is that he has not yet. Oh, you know what? I'm looking for timing and scoring. Yeah. So not too big a surprise. I was wondering when Rich was going to jump up there. So Rich, best of all in all sectors right now, and as you can see, first one into the 32s. That time may be tough to match. Looking at David Poole and some of his practice times over the course of the week, he could challenge for that top spot, but we've run off quite a few minutes of qualifying already here, John. So these guys are going to have to get with it.
That's a great time. That's the new lap record for the NAGP GT1 cars at Hockenheim.
Yeah, just fantastic lap. And you wouldn't think that Maserati MC12 would be so great necessarily around this track. This track has some big power sections and it has some slow sections, neither of which you think would be well suited, but overall the car actually has proved to be pretty successful here in the past, so Rich is putting it to good effect for sure.
We're just driving around with David Poole, seeing as how you were commenting on his possibility of jumping up and matching Rich Hromin's time. He's just started a fast lap, so we'll check his sectors, and he's up 64 thousandths of a second, so he's on pace. See if he can continue.
Yeah, David Poole just about 5 1/1000ths of a second off through the second sector, and he's really lacking way more than he should be there in the third sector. So David Poole has quite a bit more time in it. Whether it's good enough for that provisional pole, I don't know.
I was just going to say his lines were looking pretty good, and then he had a bit of a brake lock up there. That may, he's still pushing hard, so I guess that's why we have that lock up, but he's just over a 10th up on the time, so that's looking real good. We'll see how he makes out there through the stadium section. That's always pretty twisty in there. It's tough.
Yeah, sorry, John. I was going to say that he is fastest of all there through the second sector, so if he can nail this third sector, I think he's going to improve his time.
Oh, boy, and just dropped half a second in the third sector. That's always a challenge to set your car up. Do you set it up for the first and second sector where you've got the long sweeping corners, or do you concentrate on the in the stadium section? That's a tough call, I'm sure.
Yeah, always a tough compromise, as you say, John. But I wasn't riding on board with David Poole that time, but I suspect that he probably missed some of his lines through there. He'll, of course, gather back up and give it another shot here. But also, our time still remained very tight toward the top, so you don't have to pick up too much time. Maybe just even a couple tenths will move you up a few spots.
Chris Moses was looking pretty good, but he got balked in the third corner by a car, so he'll be a little bit off the pace.
Yeah, Chris Moses' time is actually not too shabby there with a 33.3. I'm liking that time. I'm also liking Al Maramon's teammate Al Maramon's time there with a 34 flat. Al's showing a little bit of speed here in the week of practice as well. So that PMR team, looking to make up some ground in these points. I think they've got a chance to do some damage in this point classification at the end of the season.
Yeah, Al's looking pretty racy this season, I must say. He was complaining that he was a little bit off the pace last night when I was talking to him, but whatever challenges he was having, he certainly has found a way to get through them.
Yeah, 13 minutes to go here, John. So still plenty of time left. However, the track temperature does continue to creep up a little bit. Now 109 degrees on track, and it should be enough for these tires to be able to get around this place once if these guys run the softs. But if they plan on running 2 timed laps, it's going to be a little difficult. And you know, I'm wondering if David Poole isn't having some of that problem in the third sector. Really, by the time he gets there, those rears might be getting pretty warm on him and losing a little bit of grip.
That's a pretty good observation. I would suggest that that's probably very spot on. I've had this discussion with my teammate in the other league about, you know, what's the best way of dealing with your tires during the qualifying. You know, do you run 1 lap, 2 laps? What's the best way? And of course, there's always all kinds of variables, but could very well be that Mr. Poole is giving it up just a bit in the third sector. He was right on pace. I just picked up David. He's dropped a spot into provisional P5, so we'll see if he can advance.
Yeah, didn't really like the line off that last corner, but may not have hurt him too badly. Oh, that's not good though. Yeah, he knows it too. Boy, really losing some front grip.
So
well, you know, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet, John. And if those softs are getting too hot on you, you just have to bite the bullet and put on a compound that's going to hold up to the heat a little bit better. Even though it might cost you a couple tenths, you might pick up 3 in the process. You know.
The qualifying sessions are always so hectic. You know, we only have 25 minutes. It's a very compressed time that you have to deal with. So sometimes you can get a little bit overloaded with information, and maybe that's just escaping certain drivers a little bit. You know, they might not be noticing that the heat's climbing a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's a possibility. I tell you something else that's a possibility too is not everybody puts in some dedicated qualifying laps. I know that I don't tend to do a whole bunch of special qualifying effort myself, and sometimes when you take the fuel out of that car and put on a different tire compound, things can change a bit with the setup, and so that's always a possibility as well.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than getting in a car not really knowing exactly how it's going to react. Doesn't typically lend the confidence that you need in a qualifying. You need to know what your car is going to do. Wow.
Yeah, you bet.
Rich really picked up a lot on the third sector there, but he didn't better his own time. So he still holds provisional pole. He was very close to going just a little bit faster.
Boy, I'm kind of taking a look at some of the sector times here, and I think that there's quite a few of these guys that they can manage to nail the third sector can really improve their position. We mentioned David Poole; he's one of those guys. Chris Moses as well. Now second best in that through that second sector. So I think he has a bit more left in it as well in that third sector. So a few guys back there: Juan Monroy, Ian Jolicoeur as well. Sorry. So a few more guys out there I think can improve their time.
That third sector is such a technical part of this track that I can understand the the little drop off in pace through there.
Yeah, and you know, it's not really so difficult a track to be able to run consistent laps on and fast laps even when you are pushing a little bit, but variables of hot tires or a little extra nerves, of course, always throws an extra equation in there.
Indeed, you get that adrenaline pumping, and sometimes it's hard to control that. So David Poole was just slightly up on the second sector time heading into the last sector. I had a bit of a brake lockup, so I don't think he's going to take provisional pole. No, he doesn't, and he does not advance his position either.
Yeah, he doesn't advance his position. He advanced lowered his time slightly, but I don't know what's going on. He's just not getting through that last corner at all, and those last two corners are extremely important on overall lap time around here. Through the first sector, these faster guys will be within a tenth. You can throw a blanket over them, basically. That third sector is really the big payoff around here, and David's just not getting through it right now.
You know, looking at some of most of the drivers that we've jumped on to drive around with them, and you can see that third sector is just giving them fits. You know, not a whole lot of them are going through there easily. You know, they look like they're all having a little bit of difficulty.
Well, they better get it figured out pretty quickly, because we've got about 7 minutes left in this period here, and times are so very close. These guys are looking just for a tenth or two to really advance their position. We know we always want to start up toward the front as opposed to anywhere else.
So I'm on board with Aaron Parsons. He's currently in P8. He's a little bit off the pace at this point. With the first sector, we'll follow him through here onto the second sector and see how his times are showing up. Aaron was having some problems with his rear tires at Melbourne, you know, with the extreme high heat that we had that kept melting the rears off of that car. Now Aaron's 410.
Yeah, not too surprising.
Yeah.
Not too surprising on this S7-R. The rears do tend to get overheated a bit on it. But still in all, I have to say I'm a little surprised Aaron is not a bit further up the time sheets at the moment. Maybe he'll do something here to make me unsurprised, but he is carrying a little bit of extra weight ballast, 20 kilograms.
Yeah, he dropped a ton of time in the third sector. I've seen him jump up, you know, seconds to go and advance, you know, a few positions right at the end. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him do that again as time is winding down. We've got just about 5 minutes left in qualifying. That should leave us, maybe 2 more timed laps, maybe 3 if we can get the.
Yeah, it's a possibility. You know, a guy I'm looking at right now, John Luden, has put himself up provisionally into the 8th spot ahead of Aaron Parsons. So John Luden looking mighty racy here tonight, as he has in previous weeks, just hasn't quite finished one of these things off yet.
Nice. Yeah, John had a really nice race last week too, so we followed the battle that he had with Al and Rich, and there was one other guy there, name escapes me, sorry about that, but you know, it's just back and forth, and you know, he just did not succumb to the pressure. He did a great job, so good to be looking forward to seeing John on the track later tonight. So we're with Andres Cole, just following him. He's currently in P16. See how his second sector time turns out. It's just about a second off the pace, a little bit more, so see how he finishes up through the third sector infield section.
I have a quick update for you, John. Rich Hromin has improved his time to 32.7, and I think that's going to be pretty stout.
Wow. That's going to be a tough one to top.
You know, we've been postulating here about some of these things and guys in the third sector and setup strategies and everything. We kind of forgot to mention that Rich's time there, even at a 32.9, was very good. So, you know, you got to give credit where credit's due for sure.
Oh, exactly. You know, as I suggested, that is a new pole record for NAGP. Seems as, you know, seasons progress, the cars get faster, the drivers get better, and it just gets tougher and tougher.
It does. It does, and Rich is proving that point.
Well, it's no reason why he's a past champion. You know, he's a very well-rounded driver, and he's fast, so shows what you got to do.
Now, I'm just watching David Poole come off the last corner now. He is going to set up for a final timed lap here. And we'll see where he starts, but wherever he starts will be due to what he does on this lap.
Right, we do. Just ticking off at 2 minutes left of the qualifying session. I'm on board with David Poole now. He had a big slide through the first turn. So that seems to have been what he needed to do. He's up on the first sector.
Yeah, so long as you just aren't bad in the second corner, you're going to do okay. It's really all about getting through the first corner around this track. As far as the first sector is concerned, you know, as long as you don't completely blow the second one, you'll generally be pretty close to a decent sector 1 time.
Well, in turn 2, 3, and 4, that whole complex, it's bumpy. It's, you know, turns back on itself, and then you've got, you know, a right, a left. It's just very complicated. It's difficult to get right, that's for sure.
David, a little bit better through that corner there.
You know, I was just thinking the same thing myself, that he doesn't look like he's quite as aggressively throwing the car around, and it seems to have held him well. Unfortunately, he didn't better his position, but still looked much better through the third sector anyways.
Nope, David Poole do no better than 5th on the grid. I'm watching Kevin Savoy now, who is up about a 1/10.5 through the second sector. So Kevin Savoy looking at least to take over, at least taking over John Sportelli. John Sportelli has parked it, and he will do no better than 2nd on the grid.
Oh, big slide for Kevin.
This time's not looking too bad, though.
Oh, look at that. And he does take 2nd on the grid. Nice way to finish it up.
Boy, it is. And nice to see that Porsche doing some damage out there. We haven't seen a lot of that. So, nice to see the Porsche getting in the mix.
Just trying to see if I can pick up any other drivers that are got a hot lap going. Christian Hamilton.
Yeah, Ian Jolicoeur is coming to the line. But he did not improve his time. He will start 6th on the grid unless Juan Monroy can finish up his lap, which I don't think he will.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit too far away for that. He's just crossing through the second sector, and he's half a second off. Nope, there we go into our Q2. So congratulations to Rich Hromin on a new track record for NAGP as well as pole position. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Rich has obviously put in a fantastic time there, and I don't think any of the other field was really maybe prepared for that. I think on any other day, Kevin Savoy with his 33 dead would be thinking, well, I'd probably walk out of here with pole position, but not so much tonight, Kevin.
And even that would be a new track record as well, too, because Andre's previous track record was 1:33.089. So we have 2 times that are actually under the previous track record. And
yeah,
just
great
looking
stuff.
at the
Great stuff.
timing here, we've got the top 10 are within a second of each other. That's great stuff. I mean, of course, Rich has got 4/10 on the field, so you know, what do you do with that?
Yeah, and I have to tell you that Rich was looking pretty solid in the week of practice. Certainly running. Him and David Poole, you throw a blanket over him basically. But I saw last night Rich had picked up another couple tenths. So some late setup changes there perhaps helping him out. A little extra track knowledge, what have you. But in any event, it worked out. And he's already looking pretty tough. But Kevin Savoie starting next year, you just never know. You get the not the greatest start you'd like and find yourself in traffic. So that's why you line them up and run the darn race.
Run the race, you betcha.
Yeah, but I love seeing those close times out there. It just it goes to show how the depth of these fields, how deep they are in terms of talent. Really great to see.
Well, and we're looking at our race times of about 1:35. Is that something that we would see, or would we be closer to the high 34s on this for our race pace?
Yeah, even more toward the 34 mids. Certainly by guys like Rich and John, David Poole, I'm sure will pick up some race pace. Chris Moses as well likely will be around there as well. So, and I don't know how many of these guys will be able to. Sorry, John.
No, go ahead. I was just going to comment, and a lot of it depends on the track and ambient temperature as well, as far as our race pace goes.
Sure, you bet.
I know we're always kind of harping, or at least I'm always harping on the tires and the temperature, but you know, the tires, what contacts the track, and that has such a huge effect, in my opinion, on how the car handles and how it's going to perform through the duration of your stint. All right, we've gone to warm up here now, so we've got a few minutes for the drivers to check out their grid boxes, and it looks like it's a pretty cool morning.
It's cold. That's a complete reversal of what we had there in qualifying for sure, John. That'll wake them up.
I'm not sure that I've ever seen it at 9 degrees Celsius ambient temperature, so that's pretty cold. They're going to have to work hard to get a little temperature into those tires. Fortunately, that should be just for the warm-up. You know, as we progress to the race, that's a little later in the day, early afternoon, so we should be okay by that time.
Yeah, we'll see. We have had some wet ones here in the past, that's for sure.
Well, that's always good to throw a little wrench into the race strategy if we do have some rain.
Adds a little spice, John.
It does. I like it. You know, it slows down the fast guys a little bit and lets the slower guys at least keep touch, and makes it a challenge for everybody.
Yeah, boy. Well, speaking of challenge, these guys are going to be battling pretty hard, particularly these guys that are involved in some of these point battles. Andres Prieto, of course, our championship leader, currently lying in 7th. He's got teammate Juan Monroy starting right next to him. And a couple quick guys right in front. Ian Jolicourt, David Poole, of course, will be challenging for points. He's had a bit of an off season so far, but up there enough to want to get back in the mix. Chris Moses, of course, John Sportelli right there, and Kevin Savoy. Well, he's just going to go out and try to win this darn thing because that's what he always does. So it's going to be an exciting time. Aaron Parsons, we didn't mention him, John. Qualifying only 10th in that 10th position. Little surprising to see that, I would say, with only that 20 kilograms on board.
I did see that right at the end, and I was kind of surprised by that. We must have seen Juan jump up towards the end of the session there and kind of escape our observation. But yeah, with Aaron in 10th, that'll I'm sure that he's going to want to push and get to the front as soon as he can.
Yeah, of course, and while we're mentioning it, we might as well mention that Aaron Parsons could very well be our overall driver leader at the moment, if not for a snafu at Sepang there. He had taken pole at Sepang in that S7-R, but had a problem on the grid, couldn't get his wheel or something to work, and had to take a DNF there at that race. So Aaron Parsons losing a lot of points at that race, yeah.
So just looking for some other notables in the qualifying order, and I don't see anybody that just jumps right out at me as being unusual in where they are qualifying. John Ludden, as you commented earlier, he's in 9th, so that's a good result.
Yep, you bet. It's good to see.
So we just got about another minute and a half before the race starts.
Yeah, always starting to become a nervy time around this time. I always kind of enjoy it, running through what it is you want to do. If you have a particular strategy, kind of getting a little anxious about what the weather might do, and finalizing fuel, maybe with your teammate, working out what it is you might want to try to work on during the race. So
I'm glad that you brought that up.
Fun time
I was going to question you actually on the fuel strategy. I'm not sure what kind of pit window we're going to see with these cars. Is this a race or a track where you're going to want to go off sequence, or are you pretty much everybody going to want to pit at as close to the same time as possible? Yeah,
unlike our GT2 class, which I'm sure some of our viewers like to tune in occasionally on Monday nights, the strategy is a little bit more condensed here in the GT1 class. Generally, you'll have to take pretty close to the same amount of fuel. You'll generally need to take tires. This is not a track where double stinting tires will work out for you very well. A bit temperature dependent, of course, but these guys will use a bit more fuel, and you'll see most of these guys come in about the middle of the race.
For the most part, that's the way that it seems for me in either league as well. Too, you may want to back it up, one, to get out of some traffic, or go long for the same reason. Maybe you've got clear space, so you want to push hard for try to do a couple qualifying laps kind of deal before you pit, so that you can maybe build a bit of a gap. But for the most part, everybody tries to split the race in half.
Yep. Yeah, the GT2 class does open up the options a little bit, particularly with the 1 hour race length. You do have an option of running a little bit deeper in the GT2 class. Tires on some of the cars will hold up a bit better. Of course, there are some exceptions in the GT1 class. The Lister Storm, it gets very good fuel economy and is good on tires as well, and a few other cars out there too.
Well, here we go. We're getting ready to go racing, Brad, so we'll run through our order. So starting from pole position is Rich Hromin. In second place is Kevin Savoy. Third is John Sportelli. Fourth is Chris Moses, with David Poole rounding out our top 5.
Yeah, Ian Jolicoeur will start 6th. Andres Prieto starts 7th. Juan Monroy is in 8th. John Luden put in a nice time to 9th, and Aaron Parsons starts 10th.
In 11th is Al Merriman, with Marty Uren in 12th. Gregory Myers qualified in 13th, with Ryan Schleif in 14th, and Marco Conti starting 15th position.
Andres Cole starts 16th. Kreshnik Halili starts 17th. Christian Hamilton is in 18th. Salem Montgomery Jr. starts 19th. And Mike Trussler rounds out the top 20.
Sergio Calderon is in 21st, with Jonathan Cuppett starting 22nd. In 23rd is John McIntyre, with John Watson starting 24th. Daniel Wilkerson is in 25th.
Mike Gretrick starts 26th. Paul Hall is in 27th. Lou Mascarelli starts 28th. Gup Douglas starts 29th. Chuck Carter starts 30th. And Matt Taylor starts 31st. So 31 pilots out there on track, John.
All right, looking forward to the race here tonight, Brad. Do you have any favorites? It's looking pretty good for Rich Hromin. But we do have John Sportelli in 3rd right behind him, so if they both get a good start, they could both have a good finish. What's your thoughts there?
Rich is going to be looking good, but we failed to mention that there is a damp track out there. It's 91 degrees, but damp, so watch out on the start.
Oh, we did see. Oh, look at that. Okay, we got him going. Ready for the green. And they're off. And Sportelli does get a good start and jumps into 2nd place, with Rich Hromin taking point. Kevin Savoy, though, is challenging for 2nd, but decides better of it and slots back up into 3rd. David Poole takes over 4th spot, with Chris Moses dropping back to 5th. And as
some news and notes here.
Go ahead.
Add some quick news and notes here. Andres Prieto has fallen back to 16th, and Aaron Parsons fell back to 17th. Didn't quite catch what happened there, John, but in any event, that's where they're at.
Perhaps they got caught out by the damp track on the start and got a little bit too much wheel spin. So we're just running through the field. I don't see a little bit of damage on some of the cars, but nothing's tore up too bad. Mike Trussler is definitely having some issues. He's missed his splitter, so back on with the leader, Rich Hromin. And John Sportelli looks to be challenged pretty heavily by Kevin Savoy, so that looks like that's going to be a battle to watch for a while.
Yeah, it's hard to say if Rich was helped or hurt by John Sportelli getting out in front of Kevin Savoy. Just not sure if Savoy had the same type of race pace as he showed in qualifying, but for the moment it looks like it may have helped, and Rich is able to, as we see Savoy there trying to make a move.
And John Sportelli wisely doesn't fight him too tough. It wasn't too hard to see that Kevin had the pace on him, so it's just a matter of holding your line and letting things work themselves out. The track is still damp, so you're not going to be a hero quite this early in the race, that's for certain.
Yeah, that's right, John, and obviously John saw that Savoy had quite a run on him and decided discretion was the better part of valor. John putting in some great drives this season, it has to be said, looking really clean and consistent, so he's well deserving of that 2nd place in our points championship.
So now that Kevin is past John Sportelli, we'll have to watch his progress and see if he starts to make up some time towards Rich Hromin.
Yeah, hard to say. I was watching Rich drive around there the last lap, and he was being quite careful with the conditions. I'm sure, of course, everybody is, but Rich so far, as just said, is handling them the best.
So we've got quite some movement with some of the drivers. Just looking through the field, Ian Jolicoeur has gotten past Chris Moses, who's dropped a couple of positions now. John Luden has moved up 2 positions into 7th place, and Al Merriman has jumped up quite a bit as well too. He's currently running in 8th. So the conditions are certainly causing some movement back and forth.
Yeah, for sure. And the guy that I noticed,
Aaron was dropped
yeah,
to 17th, and now he's back up to 14th, being closely followed by Andres Preto. So.
Yeah, well, those guys will certainly battle. Times are very close and tight still, by the way, out there on track. But I was noticing Andres Cole jumped all the way up into the 9th position from somewhere around 17th, I think. So
wow.
It was a great start for Andres.
Well, when you have damp conditions or not perfect track conditions on the start, if you're fortunate and you're able to just get through sometimes some of the mayhem that can occur, you can find yourself in those types of positions where you'll jump up 10 spots and go, how did that happen? But you don't ask those questions, you just accept it and carry on and hope that things don't change for the worse. Yeah,
that's right. Now, as we see, John McIntyre just popped up on timing and scoring with a DNF, so that's too bad for John McIntyre. In the meantime, Ryan Schleif and Andres Cole are having... Oh, wait a minute. I think my timing and scoring just messed up a little bit. It's Ryan Schleif and Marty Uren, indeed, fighting over the 10th position, so they're going at it pretty hard at the moment.
And Rich Hromin is building himself quite a gap back to Kevin Savoy. And Kevin is pulling out from John, but it doesn't look like he's really making too much of an inroad into Rich's lead. Ooh, just a big moment there for Kevin Savoy as he comes off the hairpin. All kinds of tail wagging.
Yeah, well, that's certainly not going to help his cause.
No, definitely not. And Chris Moses is able to get back by Ian Jolicoeur. I'm not sure if that was because Ian had a moment, or I'm thinking probably was. Yeah, Ian's having a little bit of problem here. I'm not sure if it's just because of the tire selection or what's going on, but he's not having fun right now.
Yeah, Ian not having too much fun perhaps, but John Luden I think maybe is, as he tries to hunt down Ian and get by as he slides around a little bit.
That certainly is allowing John to get back up on his bumper and start applying a little bit of pressure. And Al Merriman is right there looking to take advantage of whatever these guys, maybe leave the door open in their battle, and Al might be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and while you watch that battle, I can give you an update that the Ryan Schleif, Marty Uren fight is still on. It's interesting also to note that this track does not dry out particularly quickly. Our track temperature is up to 95 degrees now, however, so you would think that it would, but this track does not dry particularly quickly. John Luden now, Sorry, you're watching that battle?
I am, and John was trying to get on the inside, and Ian was doing a great job of braking hard and late as possible and was able to retain the position. A lot of pressure from John Luden. With Al sticking his nose up into there trying to get into the fight, so I'm thinking that Ian's a little bit off the pace here, and it's causing the cars to stack up a little bit.
Yeah, a little surprising. I have to maybe even assume at this point that Ian went with some intermediate tires on that Lister Storm. can't be 100%, but it's kind of looking that way to me, John.
It is, yeah. I would agree 100% that he's having some issues with his tires. It would seem at this point. He's not dropped right off of Chris, though. It just seems that they're all pretty much ready to nose to tail. Nobody's really gapping anybody at this point. I just picked up the Marty Uren and Ryan Schleif battle here as I've been going back into the top 10. Juan
Marty Uren has
as well too.
Yeah, that's right. Marty Uren has stuck his nose in a couple times on Ryan Schleif, just hasn't quite been able to pull the pass off yet.
So we've got Juan Monroy trying to overtake Marty. Marty defended on the inside and did a nice job of doing that cleanly. Both drivers did a good job there.
Yeah, good stuff. And meanwhile, I can give you an update. Ian Jolicoeur has taken it off track momentarily, and he falls back to the 9th position. So Ian's struggles continue, and he now falls under fire from that Ryan Schleif, Marty Uren battle.
Well, unfortunately, with the cars being nose to tail the way that they are, the slightest little mistake, and it doesn't have to be a big mistake, obviously going off the track a little bit, it's not what you want, but just the slightest little mistake, and you can have 2 or 3 drivers go by you pretty easily.
So, indeed, if Ian Jolicoeur is on those intermediate tires, that Lister Storm, again, does get great fuel economy. So, perhaps he can schedule a slightly earlier stop, maybe get off those tires if, like I said, if he has taken the intermediates.
What's our track conditions like now? Are we still running damp, or is it now to a dry track?
Still shows as damp and 98 degrees, so the track temperature continues to climb.
Yeah, I see a little bit of tire marking on the track. No spray to speak of at this point. All right, we'll just get back to the race leader here, Rich Hromin, and take a quick look at what his gaps are here. So already he has almost a 6.5 second lead over second place Kevin Savoy. We're working lap 6 out of 55. Rich just set a new fast lap, so it would seem that the track conditions are starting to improve.
Yeah, I think they are, John. And oops, I'm sorry, I'm watching some of the action out on track. We do have battles all over the track, by the way, but I totally forgot what I was going to say. I'm just enjoying the action here, John.
Well, it's hard to pick a battle to follow, that's for sure. It's you gotta just admire the way that Rich is driving. It just doesn't look like he's making too many mistakes at all. Obviously, if he's got such a lead built already.
Well, it's just the best feeling in the world to know that you have pretty good pace at a track, be able to get out front and then dictate exactly what it is you want your pace to be, particularly in these conditions. So it's just all signals green now for Rich Hromin. He just needs to make sure that he keeps it well in control and just kind of focus on keeping those lap times within a certain range till he can get the pit stops and take it from there.
Earlier you mentioned precision motor racing with respect to the team championship, and at this point of the race, which is still really early, we see Chris Moses in P5 and his teammate Al Merriman in P6, so that is good for PMR.
Well, it's great, and you know they're only 20 points off of that Rolf Sport Racing. They're in that lead, and boy, 20 points in the team classification is almost nothing. So PMR, yeah, absolutely right. They're looking early on here in great shape. It's good to see.
I don't recall seeing Sam Rolfe in the race this evening.
No, it looks like Sam was not able to make the event tonight, so that's too bad. But, you know, hey, that happens. Sometimes you're going to miss a race. Of course, I filled in for Sam last week. I thought he'd be back this week, but I guess he couldn't make it. And I can't help but mention, as I look through time and scoring here, John, Andres Cole continues to run in 7th. And that's the position we don't see too often from Andres Cole. He's putting in a great drive.
Indeed. You know, I believe that, like you said, he qualified somewhere in 17th, 16th, somewhere around that anyway. And so, yeah, that's a big improvement, which will certainly help because... oh, I don't see his teammate in there either.
Andres Cole is, of course, teamed up with Rich Hromin, who's leading the race.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Yep, I was looking at the wrong team name. I was thinking that was the case, but it kind of threw me off a little bit with the timing and scoring. So thanks for pointing that out.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, track continues to show as damp and temperature now at 103 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, most of these guys will not be on the intermediates. Not sure if, of course, as we said, Ian Jolicoeur is or not. Ian's times have stabilized now somewhat. But there is a possibility some of these guys started on softs. Try to hold a little bit extra temperature, and if that's the case, those tires are going to be starting to get pretty bloated by this point.
Yeah, they won't be liking the high temperatures at all, will they? Would the damp conditions help to offset that at all, or that's not going to have too much of an effect at this point, is it? It's going to be more the track temperature having the effect as opposed to the dampness cooling that down any, because it just doesn't look that damp out there anymore.
Yeah, certainly if it is damp, it'll help keep the tires a little cooler. This track does take a while to dry out, but I'm surprised that we haven't lost our damp conditions yet. But, you know, we haven't. Track temperature now at 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, looking through timing and scoring here now, Aaron Parsons has reeled in Marty Uren, and now they are fighting over that 10th position.
Just going through the track here, and it looks like John Luden has dropped a couple of spots. He's showing in P9 now. And just picked up Aaron getting close to Marty Uren's bumper, so yeah, we'll follow this a little bit and see what takes place. Marty's not known as an easy driver to pass, so this should be an interesting battle.
could very well be. Ordinarily, I'd say Aaron would be pretty patient. However, getting knocked back and not putting in a great qualifying effort to begin with, I think Aaron might be a little more aggressive here if he can be. He's going to want to be picking up some positions, I'm thinking. I'm also taking a look through timing and scoring a little bit, and have been keeping my eyeball a bit on Andres Prieto. Andres Prieto, of course, carrying 40 kilograms of success ballast, but has not made many inroads into this field after a lackluster qualifying session and then getting knocked back himself early.
And I believe
now I'm looking at timing and scoring.
Yep, go ahead.
And I'm seeing we had a shakeup. Something happened. Chris Moses now running in the 3rd position. Don't know what happened there, but David Poole in 4th. Kevin Savoy now 5th. Chris Moses up to 3rd.
Kevin dropping back. It's fortunate for him. And Aaron Parsons gets the pass done. Oh, a little tap by Marty, letting him know that he didn't like being passed, and Aaron's gone. Pulls away and takes a position. And that was
it didn't look like Marty.
No.
Yeah, it didn't look like Marty quite had the pace for Aaron. I think that was a matter of time. So we'll see how much more progress Aaron can make up this field.
Sorry about that. Just Juan Monroy lost his braking mark again and slid through the hairpin. And fortunately, Marty saw what was going on, so he was able to just let Juan just slide on by. But that was awful close, and quite similar to what happened last week when Juan Monroy lost his braking mark and took out Chris Moses. So Juan carrying a little bit of penalty ballast because of that.
I was going to mention exactly the same thing. That was almost a carbon copy. Of course, Juan Monroy getting on the grass and losing control at that. Fortunate. No harm, no foul there.
Certainly. Talking about the Sorce Verde team, we do have Marco Conti leading his teammate Andres Preto.
Yeah, that's right. And I would think that Andres would be able to get up to teammate Marco and make the pass, as Andres had shown consistently better speed, but hasn't happened yet.
Well, I was going to say that we don't normally see that, so it's nice for a change. I'm sure Marco is enthused by that.
Oh, you bet. Yeah, it's great to see. Now, I should mention also, Chris Moses now running in the 3rd position has really started turning in some laps and now has climbed onto the back of John Sportelli's bumper. Chris Moses, one of the fastest guys, sans Rich Hromin here at this stage of the race.
We'll jump up to Chris Moses and watch his progress. Holy, is he ever close to Sportelli? Yeah, he must have taken the bit between his teeth and just pulled up his socks. We use all kinds of sayings here to say wow.
Yeah, the track has finally gone dry. The track temperature continues to climb, now 107 degrees Fahrenheit, but Chris Moses now into the high 35s, 1 minute 35 range. John Sportelli only able to manage 36s.
I was just looking at the same thing for Rich Hromin, actually just seeing that his lap times are pretty consistent into the 35s now. And I'm sure, as you've suggested, that it's due to the track drying out and getting better conditions.
Well, we've had another DNF, and that would be Kevin Savoy. Kevin Savoy, your 2nd place starting this race, has dropped out of the event.
Wow, that's a shame. Well, whatever problems that he was experiencing to drop from his 2nd place certainly must have been terminal.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a case of tossing it into the wall someplace, unfortunately. Boy, there are some continuing great battles out here on track, as John Luden now has latched on to Ian Jolicoeur, and I can't help but mention Al Merriman running 5th now with a gap over Andres Cole in 6th, so great to be mentioning those guys up around the top 5.
And following along with Chris Moses here, and he's still on John Sportelli's bumper, and it's looking like David Poole now is closing up to join this fight. So perhaps John is holding the two up just a little bit. It's not a lot, but those 3 are kind of clustered together, and then about another 5 seconds or so back to Al, who is doing a great job. 5th place at early point in the race, it's a good job.
Yeah, and Al's times are very respectable too. He's not letting these guys get away by leaps and bounds by any measure. So he's actually still well and truly in that fight, I would say. A guy doesn't have to have too much trouble in front of him to be able to make that pass, and that is a great fight over second place. John is now dropping a bit off the pace, so those guys will be harassing him.
Well, it doesn't look like Chris is doing anything to, he's not flashing his lights. He's not throwing his nose out there to try and distract him. He's just running nice, clean lines, and looks like he's just going to take advantage if, he's there to take advantage if John is to make a little mistake. And I would suggest that David Poole's kind of running along in the same vein as well, too.
Well, ordinarily I would suggest that for Chris Moses, but I'm wondering, as David Poole now has really gotten within shouting distance, if Chris Moses might not start to force the issue a little bit. He certainly doesn't want too much heat from behind, particularly if he thinks he has a little pace on David Poole. He doesn't want to take a chance on giving up that spot.
Well, we're coming up on a couple of good spots for passing. Coming up to the hairpin, that's always, you can get a bit of a draft on this long sweeping corner, so we'll just see if Chris might have a go at him. Looks like he's got a good run on him. Yeah.
That Ferrari will have pace on the McLaren.
Oh, and David Poole kind of throws the nose in there as well too, causing John to stay wide, and Chris does a nice job of getting by, and very well done.
Yeah, interesting to see. Rich Hromin now into the low 36s. Chris Moses has clocked a few 35s till he got caught up behind John Sportelli. So I'm interested to see if Chris Moses can at least match the pace of Rich Hromin at the front. I wouldn't imagine so, but I guess anything's possible.
Well, it looks like they're kind of coming up on some lap traffic, so we're going to see a little bit of ebb and flow with lap times due to that fact. I can't see Rich wanting to push the issue too much to get by some lap traffic. I mean, he's got a good lead, so why be super aggressive? Wait a little bit and get by them when it's convenient. He can do that at this point.
Yes, though this track can be difficult for traffic, particularly in that second and third sector. So, so patience is required. That's just the order of the day, and those guys toward the front certainly will be. Now, still some very close battles going on here. Aaron Parsons continues to move through the field, now running 9th and looking to take over the 8th position from John Luden.
Oh, and David Poole just had a little moment, kind of lost his braking going into the hairpin and slid by John Sportelli. Didn't drop a whole lot of time, so he's still in touch, but he was getting pretty anxious to get by John and made a bit of a mistake. Great battle for second, third, and fourth position here. I'll have to say that he's not too far off the bumper of David Poole now too, so Al's doing a great job keeping up with everybody. Excuse me. And just picked up
he is.
John Wooden and Ian Jolicoeur and Aaron Parsons, just as you were suggesting. Those three are fighting pretty heavily, so we'll see how Ian, and Ian seems to have stabilized whatever his problem was earlier.
Yeah, his lap times aren't great, but they certainly have stabilized enough to where I can't imagine he'd be on the intermediate tires. So I think that question's answered. But I want to go quickly back to Al Merriman and taking a look at his lap times. They have been very consistent. David Poole in front of him, only a couple seconds now, has been pretty wildly inconsistent with his lap times. We saw him have a few struggles. I think Al could challenge for that position if he remains pretty consistent with those times.
Yes, he's close enough to take advantage of any mistakes that David may make, pushing a little bit hard to try and get by John Sportelli. And, if he makes a mistake, John holds a point and Al could just get on by.
Yeah, you bet, and you're absolutely right about that battle over the 7th position. These guys are really fighting hard, that three-way battle.
Yeah, certainly.
Not too much farther back.
Watching that here now, and you can see that John Luden wants to get by pretty badly, but there's only so much that you can do to get your nose in, and if you're not close enough, then you're not going to dive bomb and potentially take out both drivers. Ooh, a little contact there. So it's
Ian
obvious
Jolicoeur.
It's just obvious that both John Luden and Aaron Parsons have a little bit of pace on Ian Jolicoeur, but again, Ian's driving a good line to keep the drivers behind him.
Yeah, Ian Jolicoeur, tons and tons of experience. John Luden, obviously a very speedy driver. We've seen him have some great runs, but just not quite so much experience here around NAGP, so Ian will make it tough on him, but we'll certainly play it fair.
Just cycling back through the field a little bit, and I see that both Marco and Andre are still in line. Not seeing a lot of other movers and goers throughout the field. We'll perhaps take a moment or two here, and we'll do a little bit of a run down through the field. What do you think, Brad?
You bet.
Sure. So we've got, again, in position 1, Rich Hromin, who's led every lap to this point. Chris Moses has done a good job to come up into second place. And as you were thinking that he did have some speed on Sportelli and is able to pull out a little bit of a gap, although it's, at this point it's not huge, but he certainly is pulling ahead a little bit. So mentioning John Sportelli is in third place, doing a good job, as well as David Poole now, who's dropped back just a little bit. I think he's probably trying to gather himself back up again to make another charge. And big props out to Al Merriman for holding down that 5th position. Andreas Cole continues to move ahead into P6. It's great start for this race for him. Ian Jolicoeur, with a big lurch. Still in position 7 with John Luden. Just a bit off his bumper now, with Aaron Parsons close behind. Marco Conti continues in P10 with Andres Preto in P11. Ryan Schleif holds position 12, and Marty Urin in P13. Gregory Myers running in 14th place with Matt Taylor close behind in 15th. Gup Douglas driving the Monster in P16. Last points paying position, on board with Christian Hamilton at this point. Car looks pretty good. Don't see any damage for it, so hopefully we can. I'm sure he's hoping that he can move up into the points. One position out. Now in position 18 is Mike Graytrix with Daniel Wilkerson, P19. Chuck Carter currently in 20th with Sergio Calderon 21st. Jonathan Cuppett in 22nd with Lou Mascarelli and P23. Paul Hall is in 24th with John Wathen in 25th place. Salem Montgomery in 26th, and Mike Trussler in 27th, final position. And that rounds out our field for this evening.
Yeah, thanks, John. The only news and notes really since we left is, unfortunately, Juan Monroy has had a lockup on track and has disembarked from this race. Ian Jolicoeur continues to lead that John Luden battle that we were watching earlier. But Juan Monroy is making some very nice ground and had inserted himself into that top 10, but now finds himself out.
Oh, that's a shame. Always hate to lose one of our drivers through a disconnection or technical difficulties.
Yes. Now, we should make mention of David Poole, currently running 4th, is actually picking up a little bit of time on John Sportelli, and I think might be in position to make the move here in the next couple laps. David Poole has found his rhythm and has gapped a bit to Al Miramon, now about 3 seconds off David Poole to Al Miramon in 5th.
Yes, I just picked up that fight with David Poole, running with him now, and can see a bit of a brake lockup from John Sportelli, so I imagine that he can see that Lamborghini looming large in his rearview mirror. Rich Hromin continues to pace the field, though, and continues to widen the gap back to second. So it doesn't look like Chris Moses has anything for him at this point. We'll have to see how things progress once we get through our pit cycle.
Yeah, time's running pretty even. Rich Hromin has turned in a few low 1 minute 35 second laps. I think that Chris Moses, currently running in the mid 35s, can pick up a little bit of pace after stops. He'll make some tire pressure adjustments, but it's going to be a tough ask, I think, for Chris Moses here to gain that kind of time, unless Rich has some snafu in the pits, perhaps, something like that. John Sportelli, by the way, is hanging in with Chris Moses, and David Poole is right behind. So that three-way battle for second really is not over yet as we prepare for our pit stops.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Chris wasn't able to pull out a little bigger gap. I would have thought that with the way that, he was pressuring him a little bit earlier, that, once he got by, you would have pulled away a little bit more, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So sometimes, maybe you see that a little bit once a driver gets by. Well, it gives you a target and, maybe somebody to follow, so you're able to hold on to their bumper a little better than lead them around, perhaps? I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, that can definitely be the case, John. That certainly happens very often. In this case, however, I could tell you almost definitely it's Chris Moses' tires that have gone off in this case.
Roger that.
Yeah, Chris not too doesn't get too worked up about the vagaries of following or being in front. he'll just pretty much burn up the track with times if he can. So,
well, I'm thinking more with John Sportelli, but I see your point in that Chris just isn't able to pull away because of the tire situation. Just had the fast lap of the race so far, with David Poole doing a 1:34.978. So he is right on pace.
Yeah, he has really kind of turned it around. We saw him have some of those wildly inconsistent laps, but not so much now. Actually, they pretty are inconsistent still, but wow.
John Sportelli just locked up or lost it coming out of turn 1, and
yeah, he's locked up.
Well, that's a shame.
Oh, it's a heartbreaker. Oh, that's brutal luck.
That's too bad. Just sorry to see that.
Boy, it's so difficult around here to get yourself into a points position where you have a chance. Even just early on in the season, it's hard to do that, and then to have a race come crashing down on you like that, and the possibility of no points. But, well, we've all been there, John, and
yes, we have.
You'll have to just get back at them next week. Yep.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like running into a brick wall when that happens to you. It's just gut-wrenching. As you said, we've all been there. It's happened to us at one point or another, but just hate to see it, especially with John running so well too. So it's a shame. So now I guess it's up to David Poole to see if he can get up onto Chris Moses' bumper and see what he can do with Chris.
Yeah, and I would say all things being equal, dry track, good tires and everything, David Poole should have a little bit of pace on Chris Moses, judging by some of the practice times we saw during the course of the week. So I'm very interested to see how that battle shakes out after pit stops.
Which really shouldn't be too far away from now. What are we working lap time here? Working lap 24. So I'm thinking that we're going to see something in the next couple of laps. Well, maybe next 2 or 3 laps we should see some pit stops, perhaps.
Yeah, I would think so, and I think most of these guys are going to be really keen on jumping onto a new set of tires. As actually, I have a quick update here. Andres Cole is now under fire for that 5th position, as Ian Jolicoeur and both John Levin are fighting in a 3-way battle for it.
Yeah, I just picked that battle up here, and yeah, I picked it up right as we were coming to the hairpin, and Ian is just lost it to turn 8, and John Luden just got by. That's too bad. Oh, and Aaron got by, but looks like Ian is trying to answer back, doing the old over-under, and Ian's going to have the preferred line going into the stadium section, though, turn 12. So. Yeah, and you can see that Aaron really pushing hard to get by while Ian's a little bit askew here, losing the backhand the way that he did. It just kind of throws you off your rhythm. And
certainly. Well, Aaron Parsons, of course, suffering some type of trouble there at the start, started 17th, now worked his way back to 8th, but just as we were watching that battle, the track conditions have switched back over to the possibility of some rain moving in, and the sky does look quite dark.
Oh, does it
so
ever?
Track temperature now has fallen.
Yeah, I just saw a shot of the sky there, Brad, and boy, you can see the dark clouds moving in. So that will be pretty exciting to see that.
Well, it does, and it's also exciting for some of these drivers expecting to come in and get some tires, because now they have to think about maybe running it a couple laps longer if they can manage it on fuel to see exactly what's going to be happening with the sky. You certainly don't want to be making 2 pit stops if you can help it. So very interesting stuff here as those guys battle tooth and nail.
Yeah, that'll throw a monkey wrench into everybody's strategy, that's for sure.
Yeah, in the last 4 laps, the track temperature has come down 9 degrees Fahrenheit now to 100 degrees, and it's tough for these guys. What do? You stay out, you come in, the fuel's running out, John.
Yep, that's it. That's scratching their heads over this one for sure.
Well, it's also not potentially a bad time to take a chance. You certainly wouldn't take a chance on something like intermediate tires if no rain is falling. You can't do anything like that. But if you do happen to get a drop or 2 on the windshield and drive in right fast, it could pay off, but it's a gamble.
So looking at John Luden, now that he's got past Ian Jolicoeur, he's moved way up on Andres Cole's bumper as well too. So obviously following behind Ian was really holding him up, because he's just taken right off now that he's gotten by.
Yeah, Andres Cole had was starting to slip off the pace a little bit when that battle suddenly exploded. So I think Andres Cole must have made a little mistake out there or something and allowed them to catch right up. And we saw what happened.
Yeah, just looking at some of the gap times here, and it looks like Chris and David Poole have made up a little bit of time on Rich Hromin, but nothing significant. Certainly nothing that Rich would have to worry about. He's certainly has things well in hand to this point.
Yes, and looking at Rich's lap times, as we see Aaron Parsons come into the pit real quickly, looking at Rich's lap times, I can see that it's likely he's just trying to manage a particular gap.
So Aaron Parsons in on lap 27. That's about halfway, and that's pretty typical for the way that he would handle that. So I was thinking that might be a little bit early, but that's about par for the course.
Yeah, so some guys' hands were forced at this point, I think, simply not able to run out there with the fuel, though. It's interesting Chris Moses hasn't been in yet. He generally gets up. Our leader, Rich Hromin, is in, followed by a whole lot of cars.
Followed by the rest of the crowd.
So, very important stops coming up here for the likes of Chris Moses, David Poole, Andres Cole, John Luden. They were in quite a fight. Marco Conti had made up some ground on Ian Jolicoeur. Teammate Andres Prieto right behind. They remain out on track. So, important stops.
I was just watching the Andres Cole and John Luden fight, and they've both brought it into the pits at this point, as has Ian Jolicoeur. So it looks like this is the lap that everybody's going to want to get in, get some new rubber on.
Yeah, and the rain not falling yet. So only forecasted for some possibility of some damp conditions, so the track temperature continues to fall rapidly. These guys are going to be pretty much forced to take the slicks, however.
I just picked up Rich Hromin leaving the pits, and he rejoins in third place, but of course Andres Prieto and Marty Uren have yet to pit. So pretty much a no drama pit for Rich. With Chris Moses.
Yeah, Chris Moses just exiting.
Yep.
Yeah, just exiting now. Sorry, John. It looks like Rich did pick up a little bit of time on Chris Moses during that rotation. Picked up actually a lot of time. I think Chris Moses had a bad stop. Teammate Al Marimon now is fallen in just about 4 seconds behind teammate Chris Moses. Oh, and quite a ways out in front of David Poole.
That's a great stop for Al. Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, jumped him in the pits. That's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope Al took enough fuel because that was a pretty ripping stop. And Chris Moses sure gave up some ground on that one. So not sure what happened there, but in any event, a very intriguing drama here after stops.
Well, Al's pushing hard, so it's good to see him battling up to the front. And both
It is,
Andres
John.
and
Give me just
Marty have done their pits now. And yep, go ahead.
Yep. Sorry, John. Just give me 90 seconds here. I'll be right back.
You betcha. So I believe this is going to complete our pit stop cycle. Just running through the field here to see if anybody seems out of position. Chuck Carter looks like he still needs to stop. Maybe Marco Conti as well too. There's a little bit mix up in some of the cars that still need to stop. Paul Hall and Salem Montgomery just bringing it in, as well as John Wathen. Let's look at our gaps now. Yep, definitely Rich did a great job on his pit stops. He looks like he picked up about 3 or more seconds over Chris Moses. So generally, it looks like that's the way that I see that is during our pit stops. Sometimes we'll get some gapping one way or the other, and most people by halfway point are going to be figuring out where they're going to be in the race, and the gaps are going to widen a little bit. We don't really have anything that's going to tighten the field up. So the challenge for the drivers at this point is just to keep their high level of concentration, to hit their marks, and do consistent laps to bring the car home. It's towards the end of these races when you start to get a little tired. You've been running for an hour, almost an hour and a half, and you might start to make the little mistakes that end up costing you positions in the end.
But boy, a little bit different than the GT2 class, isn't it, John? It takes a little bit different strategy here for these hour-and-a-half races. Where you're absolutely right, a little extra concentration and consistency can sure pay off.
Yes, I think so, and it's going to be the last third of the race where that kind of shows itself as well. The last 15 minutes or so, the last 20 minutes. You've been well, unless you're Rich Hromin, who's just pretty much walked away from everybody with no problems, but you've had such a high level of concentration for so long that it's so easy to just start making little mistakes that can unfortunately end up costing you positions.
Sure, but absolutely right, John. But in the meantime, there is some racing going on out here on track. David Poole has actually climbed up to Al Merrimon, now running just within a half second, and Andres Prieto and Aaron Parsons battle over the 7th position.
I was just running with Rich Hromin, seeing such a great job that he's doing, but we'll flip back and just picked up that battle with David and Al, and you're absolutely correct. David is hot on his heels. Just David Poole lost it a little bit under braking at the hairpin, trying to close up tight. Fortunately, no drama was involved with that.
Yeah, and I'd have to say that David Poole will have a decent amount of pace on Al. I suspect that he will be able to get past, and I don't think Al's going to fight him too hard on that. I think Al's going to go ahead and drive the most consistent pace he has. There's quite a bit of gap back to 5th place for Al, so no reason to do anything too crazy.
And we still have a lot of racing left, so why throw a good result so far away? Just trying to defend one position.
Yep.
I can understand why you would want to do that, though. Right now Al's in a podium finishing position, P3. That's a great result. We don't often get those every race, so they don't come our way all the time.
Yeah, well, Al, of course, was in a great position last week as well, running up there toward the 6th position, I believe. He ran into some trouble late, so as mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Al is showing some great pace and will be a real asset for PMR down the stretch.
So looking at my timing and scoring, I noticed that Andres Prieto has made it past his teammate for the 8th position.
Yeah, Andres Prieto turned in a ripping stop and made up a huge amount of ground. Of course, he is also in a pretty close battle, within shouting distance of Aaron Parsons, though. I think Andres Prieto's extra 20 kilograms may turn into Aaron's favor. But can't help mentioning at the same time the fantastic job John Luden is doing in 5th and Andres Cole is doing in 6th. Really great stuff. Pretty deep into the race here, those guys. So it's really great to see.
Yeah, both drivers have done just a fantastic job for sure. It looks like
looking a little further.
Yeah, Andres can see John in the distance, but he's not close enough where he's going to challenge too much.
Yeah, looking a little further back in the field, should also probably make note of Marco Conti, who has not perhaps had the pace he would have liked so far this season. So Marco Conti running in 9th behind teammate Andres Prieto, and Ryan Schleif doing a very nice job there in 10th.
Marco seems to struggle a bit sometimes with his pit stops. So perhaps, with Andres being such a wizard with the pit stops and Marco sometimes struggling, you're not surprised to see that they've swapped positions here. But 9th is a good result so far for Marco with the GT1. I am just following with Andre here as he tries to track down Aaron and get by him. He's close. He's not close enough to do anything at this point, but he's certainly within striking distance.
Yeah, and as you watch that battle, I'll give you a quick update. David Poole has gotten past Al Merrimon. So David Poole to 3rd.
Wow, that's too bad that we missed that pass. And I'm sure that what you were suggesting with Al not fighting too hard, his car still looks nice and clean. So I don't imagine that he made it terribly difficult, although I'm sure he would have liked to have maintained that 3rd position.
Yeah, well, certainly if you're in 4th, you don't have to have too much trouble in front to get back into that podium position. I think Al understood that David would probably have pace on him, so Al will go into nice, consistent mode and see if something doesn't happen in front of him.
Yeah, oftentimes that's my race strategy. Just hope and pray that the rest of the field wrecks out in front of me. No, I'm sure that's not what Al's thinking of, but you never know. We're just riding along with David Poole at this point, and we can see that he is locking up as he was trying to get by one of the lap cars. But yeah, he was pulling a bit of a gap on Al, so yeah, you can see that Al probably made the smart choice and didn't fight too hard, causing either of them any grief. you know, sometimes you can fight a little bit too hard. And we've seen this with Alex White as well, too, who unfortunately wasn't able to take part in tonight's race. But, you know, we've seen that in where Alex will fight, you know, a little bit maybe too hard to his own detriment. You know, whereas if he was to let the driver go by, well, you know, maybe you can make the position back up as the race progresses. Sometimes you have to look at the big picture.
Yep, absolutely right there, John. Hey, as we watch around, I'm kind of wondering how the rest of the field's doing here.
Well, let's take a run through the field and see how things are shaping up. We'll jump back up with Rich Hromin, running, of course, in position 1, who just temporarily gave up the lead during the pit stop cycle, but he's got 28-second lead at this point over Chris Moses, so things well in hand. Just doing a good job of running a good pace. Chris Moses, as I mentioned, in second place, with David Poole in third now, trying to close up the gap to Chris and see if you can move a step up on the podium. Al Merriman in fourth position, with John Gluten doing a fantastic job running in P5. Andres Cole, let's see if he's making up any of the gap to John Gluten. Not too much, though. He's still about 4.5 seconds back, so it's just in contact, but not close enough to do anything. With Aaron Parsons running in 7th place, doing a good job coming back from that early incident. We've got Andres Preto close to Aaron. Again, still not close enough to make any moves, but certainly is going to challenge before the end of this race. Marco Conti doing a great job in P9 with Ryan Schleif in P10, and I'm not even going to try and say what that car name is. I can't pronounce that one. Gregory Myers for T. Brook Dam Bam GT1 in P11, doing a good job. I think he qualified a little bit lower down in the field as well, too. And typically we see that with Greg. You know, he's not the greatest qualifier, but he does run a good, consistent pace and is able to always move his way forward through the field. Marty Uren is in P12 with Ian Jolicoeur in P13. Ian definitely had some earlier struggles. Not sure what his lap times are like now, but he has fallen back a little way when he was up earlier in P7-ish. So I'm sure that there was something that happened to drop him a little bit down in the order. We've got Douglas doing a good job to move up into the points-paying position of 14th, with Christian Hamilton in 15th place. He's run a steady race. His car still looks nice and clean, and in the points-paying position, along with Matt Taylor, who is in P16, holding down the last in points-paying position. Mike Greatrix just off in P17 with Dan Wilkerson in P18 in the Viper. Chuck Carter running consistent laps in P19 with Sergio Calderon in P20. Jonathan Cuppett in the other Viper in the 21st place, with Lou Mascarelli in 22nd. Salem Montgomery Jr. continues rear of the field. He must have had some issues to start the race in 23rd, and Mike Tressler is in 24th, with Paul Hall rounding out our field in 25th. Riding back with Rich Hromin, and continues to just set lap after lap. Nice, consistent, no drama with anything that he's doing. He's down into the 34s now. Brad, who has fast lap now? Chris Moses looks like he has the fast lap with a 34.36. So times are definitely starting to come down.
Yeah, that's right. And as you did your field rundown there, you mentioned the 25 drivers we do have out there on track. We lost a couple notables with disconnects, John Sportelli being one of them, Juan Monroy being another after they were both putting in great drives. So that was unfortunate to see. And, I was taking a look at Aaron Parsons to Andres Cole. That gap has actually been pretty stable. I would have figured Aaron might have had a little pace on Andres Cole, but Andres' great drive continues. And one more quick note, I was looking through the laps of some of our lead drivers, and quite a few of them have one cut track. So always kind of a concern around here. There are a few places to pick up those cut tracks, and 3 of them will cost you a 10-second stop and go.
That would be pretty devastating this late in the race. Early in the race, something like that you might be able to recover. Not possible this late. I just noticed here Rich Hromin actually has the fast lap at a 34.2. So yeah, guys out there are burning it up.
Yeah, looking through timing and scoring here, I can see Gregory Myers is starting to put some heat on Marty Urin over the 11th position.
Looks like Marty must have got by him, because when I did my run-through, Greg was in 11th and Marty was in 12th. So they must have had a change in position, so not sure exactly how Marty might have got by him, but looks like Gregory wants to get back the position that he just lost. So it looks like the closest battles at this point are going to be between Andres Cole and Aaron Parsons, along with Andres Prieto. They all look like they're just about a second off of each other here, so we're just running with Andres, see what we can see if there's any position changes.
Yeah, Aaron Parsons here, just the last couple laps, has started to make some ground on Andres Cole, and if they do start to get fighting, Andres Prieto will certainly insert himself into that mix as well, and I think we are going to see a 3-way battle here coming up directly over that 6th position.
Yes, indeed. Just looking at Andres Prieto, and he is actually moving up on Aaron Parsons, so Parsons may want to move ahead, but he's also got to keep one eye in the rearview mirror for Andres Prieto, who's always a threat to pass at any point.
Yeah, for sure, and of course Andres Prieto is our points leader as we sit at the moment, so Chris Moses has a chance to make up quite a bit of ground tonight, but in any event, that's the way it shakes out at the moment. So Andres Prieto very keen on trying to pick up a couple positions here.
And we will see a shake-up of the points when we finish this race, because we've lost John Sportelli, who is currently second, as well as Alex White, who did take place. So he'll drop some positions, as well as Sportelli, and with Rich doing such a great job of leading this race, we'll see him jump up. And Andres Prieto is right on the bumper of Aaron Parsons now, so that'll be interesting to see how this one flushes out. Oh, and we're just coming up on a lap car, so this is going to make it a little bit challenging for Aaron to get by. And just about had a little incident there. My goodness. But both Aaron and Andres were able to get by, so no harm, no foul.
Turned out to be, pretty well judged there by those guys. Our track temperature has gone back up again to 106 degrees Fahrenheit out there on track with an ambient of 90 degrees.
So the coolness and the dark clouds were just a little curveball for our drivers. Nothing to be too alarmed about.
It was. I can tell you that their eyes were really starting to strain from watching the clouds there for a couple laps, though.
Well, it certainly looked to me like it was going to start raining, so I can imagine that they'd be pretty confused.
Well, Gregory Myers continues to pick up a little pace here. He has just gone a lap down to Rich Hromin. However, he is not too far off the bumper of Ryan Schleif. And I don't think Ryan Schleif has just gotten by. But we did see Marty Uren slip past Gregory Myers. Marty Uren now is starting to... Oh, wait a minute. Ooh, Ryan Schleif has made a mistake, and that's what allowed Marty Uren now to go into the 10th position, and Gregory Myers, of course, follows through down to 11th.
Indeed. Well, that's too bad, and that maybe is the lapse in concentration that we spoke of earlier. That could have been a result of something along that line.
Yeah, it takes a little different mindset, as we were talking about here in GT1. A little bit of making sure you look after your tires. The tire wear a little bit more important here in this GT1 class than in GT2 in terms of performance and just the length of the stints.
So just checking the gaps through the drivers, and the top 5 don't look like they've changed an awful lot. Looks to me like the closest battle is still going to be for the 6th, 7th, 8th place between Andres Cole, Aaron Parsons, and Andres Preto. And looks like we're got lapped all the way up to P10 or P11, pardon me. So top 10 drivers are on the lead lap.
Yeah, well, Rich has put in a pretty staggering pace. There are a few other guys you might have expected to stay on that lead lap, as John Sportelli would be one. Another guy would be Ian Jolicoeur, except for some inexplicable reason, Ian Jolicoeur running now in the 13th position. So his struggles continue.
And that's a little uncommon, so I'm thinking that there must have been some drama somewhere to drop him those few positions. You probably lost 5 positions somewhere. Not quite sure where, but still in the points, but not where we would normally see Ian.
Yep, that's right.
And these last few laps are going to be pretty dramatic for Andres Cole. He's got 2 really fast drivers hot on his heels, so it'll be interesting to see how he addresses the challenge.
Yeah, that Aaron Parsons, Andres Prieto fight here gave him a little bit of breathing room, but I think now he is starting to fall off of his pace a little bit. And so those guys continue to at least stay right there. I think they're likely to start closing here shortly.
They are. They're within. I'm thinking maybe a couple tenths. They're not far away at all. So any little bobble, and we're going to see some position changes here for sure. Oh, and speaking of a bobble, that's what we just saw. Andres Cole had a little lurch and took it off the grass.
Oh!
Tried turning in a little too tight and had some contact with Aaron Parsons, which allowed Andres Preto to get by. That's too bad that Andres Cole didn't see that. It doesn't look like it hurt him too bad. Of course, he lost the 2 positions, but Marco Conti is still some ways back, so no threat to lose that position to Marco. And so now we'll see if Andres Preto is going to be able to get by Aaron Parsons, who just dropped the wheel. Didn't appear to affect him too much. So.
Yeah, and I'd have to say it's possibly advantage Andres Prieto as the temperature continues to stay high here. I think, like we saw at Melbourne, Aaron Parsons could start to struggle with rear tire wear and temperature. But I tell you, Andres Cole is going to still hold pretty good pace if he can, gather it up and not lose too much concentration. He may yet be a factor as these guys continue to fight.
Oh, watching that tight side-by-side battle through turn 2, 3, and 4, and Aaron Parsons gave Andres Prieto just enough room to get his nose in, but not enough really to get by. And as you suggested, Andres Cole is still right there. He's not far off. He has gathered back up and come back to join this fight. So
yeah, it's so rare for Andres Cole to be in that. John, to be in that type of position, and it can be really easy to let one mistake lead to a whole bunch others. So so far so good for Andres Cole. I'm glad that he is able to maintain this, stay in this fight.
Well, the little bit of contact that they had, unfortunately it knocked him a little bit, but not enough to really, it didn't turn him around or anything. He was able to gather it back up quite quickly and latch back onto the bumper of Andres Prieto. So, well done for Andres Cole to recover and not lose concentration, like you said, and able to still stick with these guys. He's maybe dropping just a tenth here or there, but really, he's still right there, not losing anything.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were on the battle there. Andres Prieto has made the pass here going into turn 2 on Aaron Parsons. Aaron Parsons will have the advantage coming down the main straight, however.
Oh, rats, and I missed that. Yeah, I was talking
That's okay,
about
John. Looks like Andres...
Yeah, go ahead.
Looks like Andres will hold on for the... Okay, you picked it up in the hairpin there, and...
Yeah, you mentioned the tire wear and heat, and as we see Aaron Parsons slide the rear a little bit, and I noticed that in a couple of corners where he was perhaps struggling a little bit with the rear tires. So, it could be that just with that saline, that's just, and a big lurch with Aaron again, which allows Andres Cole to get back the position that he lost earlier.
Yeah, wow.
So, great battle here for the 6th, 7th, and 8th position.
Boy, and I tell you, I'm so impressed by the drive Andres has put on here. With those 40 kilograms of weight ballast, getting knocked back, but holding that points lead has really fought back in just a dramatic fashion. I'm really impressed with Andres' drive here tonight. I would say, with the exception of Rich Hromin, one of the best drives of the night so far.
Well, he was back in 17th, 18th position with Aaron Parsons, and they've both been able to move up. Obviously, Andres Prieto has, advanced a little bit further than Aaron at this point. But we've seen that in previous races as well, too, that for whatever reason with Andres Prieto starting towards the rear of the field, he's just a monster moving up through and able to always advance steadily through the field. So just a great driver, and it shows with him advancing through the field like that.
Yep. Now, I was taking a little further look back. Our timing and scoring, unfortunately, doesn't show gaps past the cars on the lead lap. However, I picked up a battle here between Christian Hamilton and Matt Taylor over the 15th position. Christian Hamilton just running about a second off of Matt Taylor's bumper, who is actually putting in a fine drive himself. And it should be noted also, Mike Greetrex, don't have the opportunity to mention Mike too often in the broadcast. He is running just outside of the points himself in 17th. So a good drive for Mike Greetrex.
I just noticed as well, too, that both Christian Hamilton and Matt Taylor have identical fast laps of 136.363.
Ah, that one slipped by me, John. Nice catch.
So they should be fighting against one another.
Well, I was kind of taking a look at Ian Jolicoeur's progress as well. Was running 13th, now 12th after getting by Ryan Schleif. I think Ryan may have made a mistake out there as that gap was a little bit bigger than Ian could have managed in the last couple laps. So Ian Jolicoeur to 12th.
I just saw that change in position.
Yeah, and of course John is watching the live timing, so any viewers out there who haven't yet are welcome to click on that live timing button and you will get the opportunity to see those gaps as they happen.
So we're just running back up front with Rich Hromin, and just having a fantastic race. It's too bad that we're not following him a little bit more, but I guess that's what happens when you just check out like that. He's just having a nice, calm, easy race. He's probably having a cup of tea and some crumpets. No big deal. Yeah, probably not.
It's lonely at the top, John.
Yeah, it is. He's just doing a great job.
All right, I can see Ryan Schleif has gotten back past Ian Jolicoeur. I saw the pass. I don't know what really precipitated it, but Ian made sure to give a little flash as Ryan went by, so I don't know if that was an aggressive pass, but Ryan Schleif back to 12th.
I will pick that battle up and follow it for a little bit. It sounds like they're having a good contest. We've got, looks like Al Merriman mixed in there as well too, as the lead lap car. And that's always a struggle, right? You've got the, look at that. Ian took advantage and got by Ryan again. And that's what I was just going to comment on, where, you've got the two cars that are battling for position. And Ryan has a go back, so it's a good back and forth battle with Gup Douglas right in the mix as well. So you want to let the lead lap cars through as best as you can, but at the same time, if you give up track position, somebody could take advantage of being right there.
Yeah, it can always be difficult. I tell you, it's...
And Gup Douglas had a little bit too aggressive brake zone there and gave Ryan Schleif a little bit of a hit. David Poole is giving him the old flash. So that was Chris Moses that was there earlier, not Al. And Ryan let him through just like he should. So that was a good job by Ryan. And Gup Douglas is by Ian Jolicoeur, but we'll follow along and see if Ian takes the position back, or if Gup gives it back. Not really too sure how that all played out there.
Yeah, it's a heated battle. Yeah, sure. Heated battle here late over those positions, and not inconsequential positions, by the way. Some good points on offer there.
Well, this is it. We are talking about points-paying positions, aren't we? And they don't come easy.
No.
So it kind of looks like Ian's struggles are still there. He's not really challenging Gup too badly at this point. So now that Gup has gotten by, I guess they're still in touch with one another. It looked like there was a little bit more of a gap than that. Ryan, Gup, and Ian are still nose to tail for the 12th position.
Gup working hard. That Nissan makes humongous power down the straights.
He sure is. He's braking so late to try and make up the, a little bit of time that it's almost hurting him more than giving him any sort of advantage, just because he has to brake so hard to avoid the car ahead of him that it's allowing Ian to close up and challenge for the position. So
well, ordinarily I would say, if Ian is just patient out there on track, he probably would be able to find his way by, but some mistakes for Ian when he has gotten by have put him back. So, yeah, some work to do yet.
Yeah, and that's uncommon for Ian Jolicoeur to, be making mistakes. He usually does a pretty fair job.
Yep. There's been kind of a battle I've been keeping my eyeball on a little bit, and that is one between Andres Cole and Aaron Parsons. Aaron Parsons is behind Andres Cole there in 8th position, but Aaron really has not been able to pick up too much ground on Andres Cole, and we don't get the opportunity to say that too often. So I want to make special mention of it. Andres Cole continuing his great drive.
Indeed. And looking at the live timing that we do have on the NorthAmericanGP.com website, I see that Andres Prieto has started to build up a little bit of a gap back to Andres Cole. So, now that he's gotten ahead of those two, Cole and Parsons, Prieto has been able to gap them out a little bit. Continuing to watch the battle between Gup Douglas and Ian Jolicoeur for a 13th place. Ryan Schleif is just ahead in 12th, but not really challenged at this point. Battle's more for 13 between Gup and Ian. Looking like Gup's making his car as wide as he possibly can here. We'll see if Ian's going to show his nose coming down into turn 2. Nope, not close enough.
Yeah, and as you watch that battle, I'll give you another quick update here as Marty Urin has started to make inroads on Marco Conti. Now, a couple seconds back, but that was after a Marty Urin mistake last lap. He was a bit closer than that, so I think Marty Urin is going to have a little bit of pace on Marco. Marco will have to hold him off late, I think. Oh, as Marco makes a big mistake in the 3rd sector, did not allow Marty by.
I was trying to pick
Let's
up
see,
the
Chris
battle,
Moses.
and I went the wrong way. I hate when that happens. There we go. We got Marco.
Yeah, actually, Marco had taken it off track, but just kept his foot in it and kind of cut across the track, so didn't lose any time there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and as I picked it up, Marty got balked by looks like a saline, so it's too bad. I guess if he was in contact with Marco, he's dropped a little bit off pace now.
Yeah, I was just taking a look to see if we've accrued any cut tracks here, and I see Chris Moses now has two non-timed laps, so Chris Moses in danger here of another cut track, leading to some possible demise as David Poole is beginning to close in. Only a couple seconds back now, and Matt Taylor has run out of fuel. So from the 16th position.
Wow.
Yeah. So out of the points for Matt Taylor, out of the race, that will slot Mike Greetrex into the 16th and final points paying position.
Well, there you go. That was something that you commented on earlier, where we don't often comment on Mike, and there he goes, just a nice steady race. and able to bring it home tentatively in the points-paying position. And we're only a lap or two off from the end of this race as well. Just
getting pretty close, and Aaron Parsons making a late.
Oh, I just was watching that. Yeah, I was like, oh,
nice.
See what was going to happen there. Excuse me. Yeah, Rich is just starting lap 54, so we've got 2 laps left. One we're on, and the final lap. So.
Yeah, David Poole continues to make some ground on Chris Moses, now only about a second back.
I'm going to jump up and take a look and see where we are with David and Chris. Yeah, that's pretty close. He's going to be maybe even catching a bit of a draft coming down that big sweeping corner. Seeing that, well, you know, watching David Poole earlier in the race and seeing how hard he was breaking into the hairpin and locking it up, but he did a good job of rolling it up there without a whole lot of drama and lockups. So he is definitely going to fight with Chris for the second position as we head to the last lap of the race. Yeah, he's just.
Yeah, it's always some tense moments.
Oh, for sure. He's just David Poole's just a few tenths off of the bumper of Chris Moses.
Well, there's only a few corners to go. Rich Hromin has crossed the line. He's going to win here.
Oh, and he does take the win. I thought we had one more lap to go. And this is the final lap. So Chris Moses is able to hold on for second place with David Poole finishing in third. Al Merrimont doing a fantastic job of bringing it home in fourth place. Look at that. Great job, Al. Great job. Nice steady race. And we just had Lister having a bit of a problem on the last corner. John Luden brings it home in fifth place. Fantastic. And Andres Preto with a drive back into P6. And Andres Cole leading Aaron Parsons over the line in 7th and 8th respectively. Marco Conte just coming in through the stadium section. Looks to finish in P9. Good drive. That'll definitely help with the team championship. Andres Preto in 6th and Marco in 9th. And Marty Uren bringing it home in 10th. That should be the last of our points paying, or the last of our lead lap drivers. Yes, Gregory Myers has already crossed the line in 11th. Ryan Schleif in 12th with Gup Douglas in 13th with Christian Hamilton in 14th. Dan Wilkerson in 15th, Mike Gritrix in the last points paying position in 16th. Good job for him. With Ian Jolicoeur finishing in 17th.
So it was it was some fireworks late. What an interesting race we had tonight. Would you like me to drag Rich up here, John?
I believe so. Let's have a quick chat with Rich.
Okay, you're on.
Rich, hello. It's
hey guys.
John and Brad in the broadcast booth. Congratulations on your race win. Looked like it was a fantastic race tonight. Tell us how it was for you.
First off, I got to thank Brad for putting me way above the curve here. He helped me out tremendously by getting me a good setup this week, and I was just able to adjust it for my liking, and went from there. And then qualifying, I kind of I kind of surprised myself in qualifying. I gotta admit, I'm really happy with that. And when the race started off, it just I got away from the pack, and it was damp and a little slow, a little off pace. But at one point, just before pit stops, it looked like it was going to downpour, which was the last thing I wanted to see. So thank God didn't happen. That didn't happen. But I'm sorry I couldn't make it more interesting for you guys. I just I needed this win.
It was a good race to watch you go in and basically check out. Gave us a bit of a demonstration on how to do it. You got a great run off the start of the race, and John Sportelli unfortunately disconnected later on in the race, but he got a good start as well too, and was able to take second place to get ahead of Kevin Savoy, who was also right on pace with you. By the way, you set a new track record for NAGP for the pole position, so that was a just spectacular run. It looked like you really had things well in hand. Thankfully, we didn't have the rain that was coming on. Were you thinking that going as long as you could so that you could see what the weather was going to go, or were you pretty much going to run with what you had?
I thought about it, and I just went with what I had. I could have maybe went one more lap, but I just didn't want to push it, and chance that somebody was in my pit stall and everything, since it was tight. And so I just didn't take a chance, and I figured, if it starts to rain, some guys will get lucky and some won't. So I just said stick to my guns and don't change anything, and that's what I did.
And I believe that you had the fast lap of the race as well too. So it looks like you had the big broom out, sweep the whole weekend. So job well done. Go ahead, Brad.
Nope. Congratulations, Rich. That's a good run. That's all.
Real short and sweet, Brad. Thanks. But Brad. Like I said, I have to thank Brad a lot. He, like I said, he gave me a setup to try, and that it was a little bit loose for me, and with my history with the MC12, I just tightened it up a little bit for myself, and it seemed to really work, and was able to put in a bunch of practice this week. Lately I haven't been able to get a lot of practice in, but this week I did.
And it should be noted that your teammate Andres Cole had a very good race as well too. He qualified a little bit back in the field, but moved steadily up and held off some late race challengers. So that should bode well for the team championship as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I was kind of trying not to really look at timing and scoring too much. But I saw that he was having a great run, which is great. I passed along the setup to him as well, and obviously it seemed to work out for him.
Yes, so congratulations on the race and the great points paying for the team. We'll be looking forward to seeing you on the next race.
All right, thanks, John. Thanks, Brad. Good job on the broadcast, and as well as the other guys that normally do the broadcast. Looking forward to looking at this one.
Well,
yep, you're welcome. Congrats.
We got you a little bit, but like you said, there was a lot of good battles throughout the field. So we tried to cover everybody as best as we could. But congrats for a great race, Rich. You did a fantastic job.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, Brad, what's I was thoroughly entertained. I thought that was a great race. It didn't look like we had a whole lot of contact between drivers. A few issues here and there, but I think we're going to have that anytime that we have some good, close competition. So it's not unexpected. What's your thoughts on tonight's race?
Well, you have to look at the great runs put in by John Luden, of course, and Andres Cole did a fantastic job, and of course the boss, Al Merrimon, capped off a fantastic fourth place. Sometimes fourth is the best place to finish. You don't accrue any weight, but you can pick up those big points. So a big night for PMR, and overall it was a great race. We had the unfortunate disconnect with John Sportelli, but All in all, it's just going to tighten up the points and make things more interesting for next week, which is our mid-season classic at Spa.
Ah, yes, indeed, Spa, the track I love to hate. It's a fantastic track for these GT1 cars. It's a nice big track. Let them stretch their legs a little bit and challenge the drivers along the long track. Well, thank you very much, Brad, for joining us tonight's broadcast. Really enjoyed being here tonight. We'll look forward to Jack Ivey and Ken Rodriguez rejoining us for next week's broadcast. Thank everybody for joining us on the broadcast tonight. And if you like what you saw, come over to NorthAmericanGP.com, sign up, and join us at our race.
Yep. Thanks, John.
Good night, everybody.